We are live. We'll do it live.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live. Let's play us out. What is that?
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Oh, 4 people already.
Already?
No,
Wow, 5.
people. Hell yeah.
They were
Welcome
ready.
in.
What's up, people?
Post Super Bowl 6? Like, hell yeah. Like, announce yourselves. Like, why are you watching this? Like, thank you. Like, it's almost midnight on the East, and we have people tuning in. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. All 8 of you? Holy shit, they're piling in. What's up, boys?
Hey, we're good at what we do. That's why.
Shit. Yeah, we're gonna talk college hoops. Obviously, the Super Bowl was tonight, and we're in the middle of reflecting on that as well. I had to sport the outfit tonight to remind everybody who the greatest of all time is, and don't ever compare some ugly ass carrot top head looking bitch to him again. So
I do have nothing about Mahomes, but I do have some hot takes about NFL. But this is a college basketball show, so we'll keep those off tonight.
if they're about Tom Brady, go ahead. I'll shut him down in about 30 seconds, and we'll move on.
Oh, here we go.
I'm gonna give my top 5 NFL QBs of all time.
All right,
boy.
moving on. All right, fuck it. I'm gonna make sure I retweet all this and stuff that we're live, and then we can roll into it.
After the show, Joe Jacob, I need to hear this. I need to hear it.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we'll save that for our post-show discussion. Yeah, let me retweet these real quick.
Number 1, Peyton Manning. Number 2, Arch Manning.
Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
I was gonna say number 1, freaking Sam Ehlinger.
There are a few that they've thrown out there.
Longhorn Nation, we're back.
We're back.
Back.
The Longhorns are not back in college basketball.
Not hoops.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all see where Vandy was Vandy had the storm court protectors out for Texas?
I mean, has Texas arrived in college hoops since like TJ Ford? Is that the last time? I mean,
they were in the Elite 8 a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah,
Rodney Terry got handed that team. Yeah,
probably could have won a national championship if Chris Beard didn't strangle his wife.
Gosh, we shouldn't say things like that. Come on.
I mean, I'm not saying anything. It's something that happened.
I know.
So just remember when Ole Miss makes their Sweet 16 run this year, and people are talking about what a great story it is. They have a coach who strangled his wife.
Well, yeah, that happened.
It's like the Family Guy when they're like Laura Bush killed a guy.
Booger is on ESPN downing cake right now.
You said Booger?
For anyone curious, yeah.
Booger
That's quite hypocritical for him calling Big Cat a fat ass every time he tweets out the donut.
They have birthday cake that I presume was for Saquon and Cooper DeJean, and Booger is now like just downing some on ESPN.
Hell yeah, I was watching him and Boomer before we came on here.
What?
William Luke, how far from home are you? Just curious.
Probably like 30 minutes. So
okay,
but I'm good to do the stream on here, and I can just switch over to the laptop when I get home.
Nah, you're good. I was just curious.
Yeah, I'm not far out.
He's leaving my house. For those who are curious.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
We had a Super Bowl get together. Me, him, and Pearl.
We hit our parlay.
Hell yeah, we did.
All right. Very big on Devontae Smith today, so shout out Devontae Smith for.
Yeah. That was one of my legs. I had Devontae Smith over 54.5 receiving yards.
Guy's a big game player.
Yeah,
dude.
Hopefully you had Cooper DeJean defensive touchdown on your.
I bet defensive touchdown every year. It's the easiest. Like
I should have.
Why not? Yeah.
I
should have bet Cooper DeJean defensive touchdown because it's his birthday.
I was very sad I didn't get my octopus because we had a few different 2-point conversion attempts, and I thought the octopus was going to be live this year.
Dude, there was like 4 of them. There was like
Yeah.
4 chances.
Yeah, we
There was
had
a
some
bunch of them.
chances. We had some chances to cash the octopus.
Probably should have had one. I think the best chance you had was when D-Hop scored.
I'm genuinely wondering who the fuck is watching this right now. Like, I mean, 18 people. Like,
18 absolute legends.
shout out to them. Like, I would
All the
love
goats.
19
The
now.
goats.
19.
to.
LTC.
19
Shout out
absolute legends.
LTC followers.
Yeah, honestly, like if this is just on the YouTube and we didn't have like automatic traffic popping up in people's feed, like there's zero chance anybody's clicking on this link tonight.
20. We got 20.
Oh yeah, we're racking the numbers up. We're about to start. I was just getting my.
Yeah, I'm about to say we should probably get rolling.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting to pull up my page with all the box scores so I can run through these. And it is
Let's do
being
it.
quite the bitch right now. But
While Travis looks at that, Matt, what's your background? I can't tell.
Oh,
It's
this is
Tatum.
Jason Tatum throwing down on the Knicks yesterday.
Fire.
Had a fresh 40
Okay.
points.
Hey,
Yeah.
I gotta love him shit talking Spike Lee.
Yeah.
I saw that. I wasn't at home when the game was going on, but I saw the stats. And I was talking with one of my other buddies that's also a Celtics fan.
hey, we can
Great
start with
performance.
that actually. That's a good just like the real quick ESPN just completely throwing college basketball's slate into hell yesterday for whatever showing
Terrible.
that Celtics game and the fucking Lakers game. And just if you want to watch meaningful college basketball games, you can fucking fit. Yeah, Dickie V beat cancer 4 times and hasn't called a game in 2 years. Yeah, go to fucking ESPN News if you want to watch it. Hey, I got a trivia real quick because I was pulling up this. Do you know who the leader in the nation in points per game is right now? Moreover, what team he plays for, because it's quite shocking.
Does he play for Yale?
He does not.
Okay.
Is it frick? Is it someone that plays for San Diego or not San Diego State, South Dakota State?
It is not.
No, I know who you're talking about. Gosh, what's his name?
It is one of Gottlieb's boys, Anthony Roy.
He's leading the nation in scoring right now?
Yes.
What?
I was pulling up the page with all the scores, and it showed the nation and the leaders and stats, and yeah, Anthony Roy for Doug Gottlieb's institution is leading the league.
I would have never gotten that
right now.
I thought
I would
Eric
have
Dixon
never
was
gotten
leading
that.
in points per game.
Yeah, it's Eric on ESPN. It says Eric Dixon.
Well, according to CBS, it's Anthony Roy.
Yeah, I thought it was either him or what's his name or Jamal Mashburn from Temple. I thought, but
nope, it is
I
Anthony Roy is averaging 25.7.
jeez.
Yeah, so Doug Gottlieb. Hey, he's got something to hang his hat on.
Clearly.
Yeah.
You think Gottlieb was back at the Super Bowl tonight after the game yesterday?
I bet you he was, yeah.
By the way, Purdue Fort Wayne minus 15.5, and that one awful beat.
Shout out the Mastodons.
Yeah.
That's where my family's from.
Not shout out to them because it was a fucking awful beat. They should have covered.
Who are they playing?
Green Bay. Yeah, it's 15.5. They won by 15, and they fucking dribbled it out. At the end, they literally dribbled it out.
Oh.
They ran right under the basket and dribbled it out.
There was a game yesterday that had an extremely bad beat too. Which one? They hit
It was
a 3
Indiana.
at the
Michigan.
Indiana, yeah, Indiana, Michigan. I saw that.
Just pointless. There was no reason to take that 3.
Anthony Leal.
Dumb. Just so dumb. I don't know why he did that.
All right.
People are saying
basketball.
that because of that, Dusty May is not going to Indiana now.
Yeah, I have the Dusty stuff on the docket for this episode.
Yeah, there. Also, I forgot to mention it last episode. I heard last year there was potential beef between Dusty May and Indiana, the
What? Because
institution
he's
at
mad they
Indiana.
didn't fire Mike Woodson? Was that the beef?
No, because of Bob Knight, how they handled Bob Knight.
Oh.
What, like, you can't throw any chairs anymore, Bob.
Dusty May was the student who like went up to Bob Knight and got reprimanded for it.
All right, fuck it. Let's start. We got to start. Most number one team in the nation went down yesterday. Me and Will Luke had a Auburn show.
Mhm.
We talked about it. So Florida 90, Auburn 81. I don't know. I already said most of what I had to say about it with Will Luke yesterday on our show, but curious to hear your guys' non-biased perspective too. But it was just like I wasn't really like I was obviously I'm upset we lost, but it was a game that Florida really needed to stay in contention in the SEC regular season. They played a terrible non-conference, so as far as March is concerned, they needed some big wins in the SEC, and this is obviously the biggest one they could get. It's like the best win any team has had in college basketball this year. Florida got yesterday, and that was just obviously they came into that one ready to go and were knocking down everything and just straight up out efforted Auburn in that one. They were just destroying them on the glass. They were forcing them late in possessions, not giving them good looks, keeping the ball out of Broom's hands. They did everything they needed to do, and they got a win in the jungle. Quite disappointing, but yeah, me and Will Luke already talked about this one at nauseum. So I'll
Yeah.
give you guys the floor to give
I
the
have some more thoughts,
non-biased
but I want to hear
perspective.
you guys' thoughts first.
I think that's what we said on Friday night. I think this game was coming for Auburn. Just a game where they can't do anything, you know, and just run into a wall, you know.
Well, they
Effort, at
scored
least
81
effort.
points. I
Yeah,
wouldn't say they
they
didn't
kind
do
of
anything,
they
but
kind of they kind of came back at the end. The first half they kind of struggled, uh, and Auburn. I mean, it's against one of the best teams in the nation. Florida is one of the best offensive teams in the nation. So if you're having an off night, it's very easy to get into you just kind of where you're out of rhythm. We saw it happen with Tennessee versus Florida, the first meeting back at the beginning of January. But yeah, Florida needed this win, so they were playing out of their gourd, uh, and Auburn just wasn't playing their best basketball.
well, I mean, Walter Clayton Jr. and Alex Condon were
Mhm.
playing out of their minds. Like, yeah, it was just one of those games. Like I said yesterday on our show, you just got tipped the cap, man. It wasn't some it wasn't a game where you can walk away and just be like, oh, if we did this different and this different, it's college basketball. You just get beat
Mhm.
sometime, and I mean
I'm
that's
not
what
even,
happened yesterday.
I'm not even slightly mad about losing to Florida. Even if it was in the jungle, it's because Florida's a good team. Like, if we would have lost at home to like Texas or like an LSU team that just obviously is not very good, I probably would be a lot more upset than I am. But Florida's a very good team, and they have all the tools and coaching to make a Final Four run. So I don't think this is going to affect Auburn in the long run. But I will say this: the only way this becomes an issue is if we let some of the issues we had against Florida bleed into the next few games against Vanderbilt and Alabama. Like, if we let this continue, then we're in trouble. Like, if we want to win the SEC regular season. But if we can stop this bleeding, get a bounce back win Tuesday night against Vanderbilt, we'll be fine. I'm not worried.
Yeah, they that was, I mean, that is the most impressive win anyone's had this
Yeah,
year for Florida. They
true.
obviously needed that, and they do match up pretty well with Auburn, I will say, just size-wise, style of play. They're one of the few teams that can actually keep up with Auburn offensively in a track meet style game. Yeah, that was Alex Condon's best game this season,
Yeah.
hands down, just on both ends. Um, and yeah, they shot the ball well. Auburn gave him a lot of open looks. And during the timeouts, you could just kind of hear on the broadcast, like Bruce Pearl's just like, okay, please try. Like, let's just try harder here. So yeah, they just got absolutely punished on the glass. Just missed. Florida did a really good job of contesting every shot that Auburn took, and everything close to the basket. They had guys on. They were not doubling as much underneath in the first half. They kind of left some of the shooters open, and that worked for them. They're one of the few teams that can do that. But they made everything tough on Janai. Cardwell had a terrible game. CBM
Oh,
had a rough game. Kelly had not one of his better games. Denver Jones was terrible. So
Kelly had 22. That's the only one I'll push back on.
yeah, I mean, I don't think now granted he got hot in the second half for sure. But I think he took like 9 threes and made two or three of them. But yeah, he and Janai were really, and Pettiford had a decent game. Not one of his best, but he kept them in that down the stretch. But yeah, I wouldn't really it's not a huge panic for Auburn really. Florida was better than them. They are one of the not a lot of teams can replicate what Florida did to them. There's really not many teams who can do that. So it's not as easy as Mississippi State will just play them how Florida did. It's like, well, they can't. They don't have the guys to do that. So yeah, I mean it's alarming at times. Yes, giving up almost 50 and a half is kind of uncharacteristic for them. So there are some concerns, especially with Bama next week. That's another team that can kind of push the style that they want to impose on the game against Auburn there.
Bama doesn't
But
have the size of Florida, though.
they do not
That's
have the two-way size, especially, yeah. So, and they're not going to hit the glass quite as hard as what Florida did against them. So, yeah, but we'll see. I wouldn't be overly concerned. They still put up 81. They lost. Not a lot of teams can say they lose by 9-10 points and put up 81. So yeah, it's just kind of more of a finding a consistent identity defensively, making things tougher, especially on the glass. They just were, just Florida was first to every loose ball, to every 50-50 rebound. So yeah, credit to them. That's a huge win for Florida. And yeah, their seeding was not looking entirely promising. But yeah, that's huge. And
yeah. I mean,
they
Florida didn't play anybody in the non-conference
no,
really, so they had to get some big wins in SEC play if they wanted to improve that.
yeah, and they are the real deal. I mean, they are. I mean, that's they won 20 to 23 games, and they are probably one of the 5 or 7 best teams in the country for sure. So it's a huge win by them. A little, it's a little alarming for Auburn, but it's one of those things where it's like if you see this now rise in multiple games, because this is really the first one, you don't really put in the loss at Cameron as a game where they were, horribly outplayed or something, or they just looked rough. So they're still in a decent place. They're obviously still on the one line, and they'll stay there for the rest of the season, probably barring just any unforeseen horrible losses coming up. But yeah, I would say both teams are really happy about where they are, and certainly Florida right now more than Auburn because they just kind of beat maybe the best team in college basketball at their own game there. So
And sometimes you just need a wake up call as a team, and I think that's kind of it. It's almost no loss is there's no such thing as oh, this loss is a good thing, but there can be positives from it, as in like they needed a wake up call. You got 2 games on the road coming up next week, and you kind of get your shit handed to you at home, and now that's the game where you're like, oh shit, we got to wake up. We got 2 games that are gonna be tough on the road
yeah, and
next
that
week,
was
especially
without
now.
Elijah Martin for Florida, and Walter Clayton played 40 minutes against them. So yeah, they definitely need to be better next time around.
Yeah, and now Auburn will go and play 2 games on the road next week that neither of which will be easy. Um, Kind of the biggest debate going on all the national college basketball shows and stuff from what I've seen and I guess like the part of this is Duke losing too, which we'll get to that game. But should Auburn stay at number one in the AP poll? It seems like a lot of the national college basketball media members, to my surprise, are like strongly pushing that, like, hey, Auburn should stay at number one. This is ridiculous that we're even having this debate. I think it's kind of a institutional issue that I said to you guys yesterday, that a lot of these national college basketball media members who take their job a little bit more serious than some of these AP voters do have with the AP poll, is that these AP voters just like, somebody loses, they drop them, they put whoever didn't lose that week and move them up, and they're kind of lazy with it. And I think a lot of the AP voters are like fall in one of two buckets, where you like there's a lot of football guys who get votes because they're respected for their work on the football side. The AP gives them votes in college basketball too. And then there's a lot of local reporters who probably watch the local team they cover, but don't really cover and watch the grand scope of the sport. So they just kind of go with like look and check a box score, see who lost that week, see who won that week, whatever. And that's so now the debate is, will Auburn drop out of number one? And a lot of the national media members are like, hey, like Auburn has the best resume in the sport by far right now. They lost to a really good team. The number two team also lost. The only other team who could have jumped them, because it's been clearly agreed upon for a while that Auburn and Duke are the best two teams in the country. But yeah, I'm kind of saying a lot of words here to ask you guys just your thoughts. Should and will Auburn stay at number one in the AP poll come 12 hours from now or so?
I think Auburn will stay number one, mostly because it's only their second loss. It was to another top 10 team. If it had been to like someone like a LSU or someone like that, that's not ranked, they probably would have dropped. But it wasn't a bad loss for Auburn, if that makes sense. And Duke losing, of course, too. I don't think Alabama has enough momentum at the current moment to jump both. So I'd say it'll probably be Auburn at 1, Alabama at 2, Duke at 3, if I had to guess. Just based on.
Well, from a television standpoint, I think ESPN wants Auburn to stay 1, or just Bama and Auburn to be 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
And
Bama and Auburn will be 1 and 2 in whatever.
Yeah, so for whoever will be, I think Bama will jump them, because that's just how the AP poll works.
Yeah,
and that's
momentum
just how
based.
They're just like, okay, who won,
momentum.
who lost, and in they go, out they go. So yeah, I think Bama probably will go to 1. If the NCAA tournament started tomorrow, Auburn would certainly be the number 1 overall seed. I don't think that's any debate. So they are still the number 1 team, but there is no college football playoff rankings weekly here for basketball. So we're still at the mercy of the AP poll. So
I think Auburn's going to stay number 1 for a lot of the reasons Jacob said. Like Duke lost to Clemson, and it's only Auburn's second loss of the season. And their 2 losses are at Duke and then at home against Florida. And sure, you don't love losing at home, but if you're going to lose, at least let it be to a top 10 caliber team, which Florida is. Florida's probably a top 5 caliber team. And I'm sure they'll be in the top 5 come the AP in a few hours. So I think, if I had to guess, I think Auburn will still be number 1, but I could definitely see it going either way, in some form of, Auburn 1, Alabama 2, or flip that. I think it could really go either way, but initial feeling and gut reaction is that Auburn will stick at number 1.
I think it'll be split votes too, for number 1.
It'll be close.
Yeah.
Gross.
It'll be close for whoever gets it.
What if? Can you imagine? Because sometimes you'll have 2 teams ranked in the same spot. If there's a tie, what if they're both number 1 and we just get 1 versus 1 next week?
That would be wild. I'm not here for that. Just put one of them too.
I'll tell you, one of the voter, I think he's a voter at least, John Fanta, his top 10 is ridiculous, to be
What do you
honest.
not like about it?
I just don't like it.
I didn't see what he put.
I didn't have Purdue high enough.
He has
What does he have? St. John's in the top 3?
St. John's at 7.
I mean, Fanta's a Big East guy, so I wasn't sure if he.
Yeah, he has Texas A&M at 6.
A&M had a big win.
Yeah,
He still
we
has
will talk
Iowa
about
State
that
at 10.
one.
I don't like it.
I don't think
Yeah, for his
anything you
top
just
two, I
said is
agree
like
with.
insane, but
His
No,
top
I
2,
don't
I
think
don't
that's
agree.
that egregious.
I don't agree with his placement of 3 through 10.
What would
Yeah.
you do differently? I just want to hear.
I'd have Duke at 3. I'd have Tennessee at 4. Florida at 5.
It's a very pro Fanta show here, so careful
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
I've had Purdue at 6. Probably have Houston at 7. St. John's at 9. Not sure what I'd do at 10, to be honest.
You got
Maybe
to
have Memphis. Maybe put Memphis there.
So no.
what?
You didn't say Texas
Over
A&M.
Iowa State. I wouldn't have A&M in the top 10.
What?
Okay.
They were 10 already, and they just won at Missouri, your favorite for the SEC.
Dang.
They got to get some points for that.
I'll keep them at 11.
Yeah, Wade Taylor hit an insane game-winning 3 on the road. Fucking drop him. That's an interesting take from Jacob there. But yeah, we won't put up with any Fanta slander here. But I mean, a lot of the Goodman and Gary Parrish were both. I was listening to Gary Parrish's podcast earlier, Eye on College Basketball, and he does he every day on his blog on CBS.com. He does he calls it the top 25 and 1, and he does a ranking, and he does it more like resume based, especially at this point in the season. He does it closer to what the actual format for the NCAA tournament is. And he kept Auburn number 1 in his top 25, and he was on his podcast earlier strongly. Him and Norlander, they do it together, and they were both in agreement when I was watching them earlier that Auburn should remain number 1.
Yeah.
So we'll see what comes of that. But speaking of number 1 and top 2 teams both lost yesterday. Duke went on the road, lost 77-71 to Clemson. First off, you have to give a shout out to Dickie V for his return. That was awesome.
That's a great story.
4-time cancer survivor. You gotta give it up for that. In fact, you know what? I got it right over here. Shout out Dickie V.
Shout out.
Yeah. He's the man. I was so happy to see him back. He was obviously emotional. That was one of when we have our moments of the year in college basketball and everything at the end of the year. It'll be hard pressed for that to not be at number 1. Dickie V making his return, and I don't know if he's going to be back weekly now or that was just a one-off, and they might put him on a couple more games. I don't know what ESPN's plan is for him going forward now, but just so great to hear him back on the call. And he was he was still himself too. It's awesome. It wasn't they didn't just it wasn't him there as a novelty act. It did feel like he was back in form too. He's screaming about the possession arrow at one point, losing it about how dumb the possession arrow is. He said that arrow never got on the ground and got that ball. I didn't see that arrow on the ground fighting for the ball, and he was screaming about it.
I didn't see the game, but did he use the phrase "diaper dandy"?
Oh yeah, I mean they kind of they were joking about it all week because obviously they knew it was going to come out for Cooper Flag, so they were pushing him into it. So it definitely came up, and he's obviously very excited to call a Cooper Flag game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he's been looking forward to that. He loves Duke, and I didn't know he either called or he just went and watched one of Cooper Flagg's games in high school, and they were talking about that. So, like awesome for Dickie V. Just like such a great moment to have him back there, and yeah, that like I said, that's number one moment of the year in college basketball right there. Is Dickie V making his return.
Mm-hmm. And
Um, but yeah,
what if
Clemson
what?
got much to Dickie V's dismay. I'm sure Clemson got the win. Which yeah, it was like Duke led early and led a lot of the first half, and then they just came out flat in the second half. Cooper Flagg, he turned it on late, but he was playing probably his worst game of the season until the last 5 minutes or so. He really turned it on, but like Clemson was absolutely just strapping Cooper Flagg. Like they
Mm-hmm.
weren't giving up anything to him, and Proctor was playing out of his mind in the first half, and that's the reason they had a lead early and had a lead at the half was how good Tyrese Proctor was playing. He was out of his mind, but Clemson was able to go on a run in the second half. Um, they went on a score. Duke went on a scoreless run for a while, and Clemson was able to grab the lead early in the second half, and then got tight there late. But Clemson was able to hold on and get it. Um, but yeah, huge win for Clemson to solidify their tournament resume. They needed that one to make sure they're
Mm-hmm.
solid, and they should be good now. They shouldn't have any issues getting in. Um, just a big time win for the Tigers and Brad Brownell. We got a court storm there. So I'll pass it on to you guys. Whoever wants to go first, talk about that game.
I guess I'll start. Like you said, a huge win for Clemson. Clemson's a good team, and they made the Elite Eight last year. So I mean, to go on the road and expect an easy win for Duke, I don't think that was realistic, especially with as much youth as on Duke's team. Um, the old adage is it's tough to win on the road, and especially when you have a young team like Duke. Um, you have to fight through those moments. And Clemson was the better team yesterday. Even with if you have an impressive talent like Cooper Flagg, Clemson was out there to win. They were locked in, um, and they fought through adversity to overcome that win and solidify their tournament position. So good on the good on Clemson. Um, the One of my coworkers will be happy. He's a Clemson grad, so I'll have to ask him about the game tomorrow. So
Yeah, Clemson was awesome yesterday. They executed really well in the half court. Um, they just really defensively had locked in late. And Duke did not play a bad game. Cooper Flag played probably his worst game as a college player until, as you said, 5 minutes left in the game. He sweats like Kevin Garnett, so that seems to be a detriment to him as far as slipping later on. But no, they got a good game from Knipple, played well.
Proctor
But
was out of his
Proctor
mind in the
was
first
awesome.
half.
Yeah, I mean, really, he was their best offense. Just scheming up quick hitters for him, and
I don't think
um,
Proctor scored in the second half though, or if he did, he because I'm pretty sure he finished with, I'm looking at 23. I think he had 20 at halftime.
yeah, he
So
was solid. And Clemson, if they just made their free throws at a higher rate, that game would have been wraps. They were horrible from the line, um, but yeah, that's a tough, experienced team Clemson has. Ian Shefflin was one of their better guys on their Final Four team. Um, and yeah, they played well. Credit to them. That's a game that probably goes Duke's way on a neutral court or at Cameron, obviously. But yeah, they played well enough to win, and credit to them. That's a game that Duke probably wins against them 7 or 8 times out of 10, but they did not that day, and they just did not execution was not great. Defensively, there have been some concerns with Duke recently. But yeah, Clemson's just half-court execution was awesome. It was
Dickie
fun to
V
watch.
said Duke has the best defense he's ever seen. So
Ever seen?
Ever.
yeah, ever.
I mean, on paper, you could say like, yeah, this is really cool with Flag just funnel and help inside, but no, it's not the best defense ever. What are we doing here? Like, they can't play man for every game, it seems. They were at the beginning of the season here and throughout some of these games, but they've been playing more zone recently. That's not a great sign. They just totally got worked in the half court by Clemson. That's not a great sign for them either. But no, the best defense of all time, no. I'm not going to say they're not like some 2015 Kentucky just juggernaut on defense here. But it's a scheduled loss for Duke as far as I am concerned here. They just
Yeah, because it's
scheduled
like
loss.
they've been
Yeah.
rolling through the ACC because the
Yeah.
ACC is terrible. And if you looked at Duke's schedule, it was the game at Wake Forest, this one, and the game at Carolina were the only games you looked at and be like, yeah, maybe they'll drop this one.
It's Clemson's Super Bowl. It's their biggest game of the season, and they're hosting. There's no way. Like, Duke was going to have to, really take their game to another level. Clemson, it was kind of like how Florida played. Intensity was higher on their end, and Cooper Flag, really nearly won them that game. But yeah, that's a game that not a huge concern for Duke. Like, Clemson needed that significantly more than they did. Still Duke's in pretty prime position here. I don't think they're going to drop another conference game. I would not be overly concerned. But
the only thing
for
this hurt
Clemson,
Duke,
big one for Brown.
the only thing this hurt like Duke with, I would say, and this probably ends any chance they would have at getting the number one overall seed, just because I don't think there's going to be enough opportunities for them left.
Yeah, they're going to
in the
have to go to
ACC.
Newark instead of Atlanta probably. So that's they'll still probably get games in Raleigh. But yeah, they are probably not getting number one overall seed. And I think Clemson's going into that game yesterday. I think Joe Lenardi had Clemson as an 8 seed, so they should be pretty firmly, not firmly, but they are, playing themselves pretty comfortably into the field now.
By the way, I was pointing out. I wanted to point out too, as far as like the seeding in the first round and stuff. Duke's probably relieved, like you mentioned, they go to Raleigh in the first weekend. Auburn is 10 minutes close. I was like something crazy, like 10 minutes closer to Lexington than they are to Raleigh. So you bump that up like 10. Like the Duke's got to be happy the maps are looking the way they are because. You look at the map on the wrong day, Auburn could be going to Raleigh instead of Lexington. It's like literally a 10-minute difference, like closer from Auburn to Lexington than Raleigh. And I'm sure Duke obviously would much rather go to Raleigh than Lexington. But if Auburn happened to be a little closer to Raleigh, then Duke would be going to Lexington instead, which would not be near as good of a home court advantage for them as Raleigh would be. But you bringing that up just made me think to point that out. William Luke, you got anything on the Clemson Duke game?
No, y'all covered it. I just saw a tweet that pissed me off, but I'm not going to get going, so we can move on.
What was it?
They rolled tumors for the Eagles winning.
Why?
Who knows? I'm going to stop myself before I get going, but
Gonna have to talk to Nick about that. Yeah.
Okay, don't love that. That worked out well last time they rolled it. It was the Braves. But
we never learn, dude. You don't roll unless it's an Auburn athletics event. You just don't.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that one either. But yeah, that about covers Duke Clemson, huge win for Clemson. Duke's going to be fine. Not too much to be concerned about there. Anybody else got anything on that one?
I did not.
Nope. Y'all covered it pretty much. I mean,
All right. Next biggest game of the day, as far as ranked matchups, is probably A&M Missouri. Jacob, or William Luke, you guys are on computers. I don't know if one of you can pull up Wade Taylor's game winner,
I
and
can.
pop it up on the screen.
Let me present
But
it.
yeah, like like insane on the road, like move, like not like a great look either. Like he caught it and was on the move and was shot it from pretty deep and was able to hit it. Just absolute. I put in the title the onions, like, because that's all I could think when he made that. That was what a clutch game winner that was, and a
I
big
have it
win for
pulled
A and
up.
M.
I don't know if you can see it.
Oh yeah, I'll
Is
put
it
it.
okay?
I'll put it on the screen here real
Okay.
quick.
Okay.
Here we go. Yeah, go ahead, play that.
Okay. I'll play it.
Yeah, this was awesome. I jumped out of my seat when I saw this.
5 seconds remaining. Taylor, that's a three. On the way. And
Wow.
he drains it. Slide
Incredible.
he's nasty.
Like,
Yeah.
wasn't a great look at all for him. Like, obviously the play kind of broke down for him. Like, I know that's not what they were looking for
Mhm.
at all, but he was able to get it and he knocked it down. So that was awesome. So yeah, big win for A&M, 67-64. Keep
Yeah,
them
that's a big.
in the mix in the
Mhm.
SEC. Bumped them from Jacob's top 10, unfortunately. But other than that,
Tough. Don't
great.
tell Wade Taylor.
I kind of even forgot they were in the top 10, to be completely honest. But big win for them to go win on the road at Missouri. Missouri team that's been surging as of late. But yeah, that's just how the SEC is this year. One night you look like world beaters, and then the next you get beat, on a buzzer beater. Wade Taylor, great game from him. He's probably the best scorer on A&M. He's most of their offense.
And Payne played out of his fucking mind for them yesterday too. So I
Yeah, he
believe
was solid. Wade Taylor drives me crazy because he's like painfully inefficient most of the time. I mean, eventually A&M season, if it were to end, is going to be because Wade Taylor has like a horrible shooting game and just shoots them out of a game and
he's like the
shoots
Caleb Love of the SEC, basically.
Yeah, shoots like 4 for 20 with 19 points or something. But yeah, he wasn't great yesterday. He had the game winner, but going into that, yeah, Payne played a great game. Phelps played a good game for A&M. They were, that was one of their better games in the season, especially on defense there. They held Missouri pretty good in the first half, and then second half they, somewhat struggled, but all in all, that's a huge win for them. Missouri didn't have their best game offensively. I don't think Caleb Grill made a three the entire game. They didn't get their best game from Tamar Bates. But yeah, all in all, that's a huge win on the road at Missouri.
Can confirm
that's like
he did not make a three. I'm looking at that right now.
Yeah, so I don't think he had his best game. And
4 points.
Yeah, so he nearly made the tying shot at the end of regulation there. But yeah, wasn't Missouri's best game. And yeah, credit to A&M. They continually pull some of these games out. That at times it seems as if they really have no business winning late in the second half in some of these games, and they pull them out. So
that Ole
yeah,
Miss one obviously comes to mind.
Yeah,
with that.
And it's kind of one of those things. Like a lot of people, like I'm sure you're not the only one here who is surprised that A&M's in the top 10. They are in fact that good, and this is Buzz Williams' best team there. So
well, the SEC is just so good that they're kind of like buried in the mix there. That's why it's like easy to forget them, because like they haven't really gotten mentioned by a lot of people in that like top echelon of the SEC. So they're just kind of going about their business and casually hanging around number 10 in the nation right now and probably going to go up.
Yeah, they are pretty well positioned now. For Buzz Williams' sake, they really should be a second weekend team. They have that kind of talent. They obviously brought Wade Taylor back from last year. But yeah, this is a team that they should be a Sweet 16 team. Whether they get there, that's a whole other discussion. I think they're Joe Lunardi going into yesterday had them on the 2 line. They were 2 seed, but they would be a pretty trendy pick, I would assume, for a 7 or 10 seed to beat them if they were on the 2 line. So we'll see. But yeah, credit to them. They're looking strong, and yeah, they have a few more tough games coming up in conference play, but they're going to be a team that's fun to watch in the SEC tournament, and inevitably, if and when Wade Taylor shoots them out of a game, that's going to be what costs them.
Well, if it's anything like yesterday and Payne plays like that, he can at least save them from some of Wade Taylor's antics. And like I said, like he reminds me a lot of Caleb Love, where like he'll make you want to rip your hair out watching him sometimes, and he'll take some shots where it's like, what the hell are you doing, dude? But like when the pay window's open and they need a big shot, he's the guy that's going to knock it down for them. And it's like, you live by the sword, die by the sword. You take a guy like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a guy that's kind of like that here at Auburn with KD Johnson, where
they sure did.
No, I'm saying he's not at the level.
He's not Wade Taylor,
yeah. No, I'm not saying like at the level, but it just makes me think of that where like he would have moments where you just wanted to blast him out of the country, and then he'd have moments where he was out of his mind and would put Auburn on his back in certain situations if he was feeling right. And like Wade Taylor, certainly one of those players. Like I said, certainly not saying KD Johnson was on Wade Taylor's level. It's just like from Auburn, the team I watched more than anybody, it just reminds me of that. And like Caleb Love is obviously probably the most well-recognized example of that kind of player in the country.
KD's game winner against Missouri, that layup.
Yeah.
That was nuts, dude.
There was just a funny Truth Social post that got posted by somebody that I'll have to send you guys. That distracted me. But yeah, no, big win for A&M. Yeah, that shot was awesome. That was one that I legit jumped up off the couch when he hit that. I was like, holy fuck. So, any other thoughts on that one?
I think we've covered it pretty good.
Is Missouri officially eliminated from SEC regular season title status?
Probably. I don't know how it goes down the stretch of the.
They would need Auburn and Alabama to have quite the collapses
and Florida
of the century.
And A&M and
Tennessee.
Yeah.
Oh shit, that's funny. Next game, ranked matchup on the docket was the nightcap. Which full disclaimer, there was the fire alarm went off in Tucson, and this game didn't start till almost 11 o'clock midnight on the East. It got delayed by a fire alarm. I can't remember the last time I've heard that one, but. So yeah, I did not make it to the end of this one because I was working this weekend. I was too tired. So I think about halftime I was out. So yeah, you guys will have that. I mean, it seems like Arizona controlled this thing most of the way. So I don't know what I missed.
Yeah.
That'll be there to touch on. But yeah, it's a 2-point game at halftime. Arizona led most of the way. As far as I know. I mean, you guys. I don't know if you guys made it to the end of the fire alarm delayed game, especially you East Coasters. I I imagine that thing didn't end until sometime after 2 a.m.
I was probably passed out because last night I just passed out. I had a long day yesterday, so
that's what makes these games fun, man. Yeah, they're doing it for Pac-12 After Dark, so this is
Mhm.
just Big 12 After Dark now. But yeah, that was I mean, I expected more from Texas Tech, honestly. All their guys who played so well at Houston were not good at Arizona. Chance
It's a
McMillan, who is
tough place to play though. Like,
yeah, Chance McMillan was rough. He was pretty bad. Um, Elijah Hawkins was horrible. And it was just JT Toppin who was really carrying the offense there. He had a double double. I think he had like 21 and 13. But yeah, he had a solid game. But aside from that, Arizona, give them their credit. They're just nails in Big 12 play. They somehow are 11-1 in the conference. They overcame like a not ideal shooting performance from Caleb Love. But yeah, they are a very strong, deep team, and as we said, they're just rough at home to play against. Yeah, they got great games out of like Jaden Bradley, Awaka, the big there, who just cannot get beat on the glass. That guy is unbelievably good. Yeah, they're a fun team. It's not Tommy Lloyd's best Arizona team, but
they've rebounded so well after their non-conference though, because it was looking. I mean, they
yeah,
played a tough
They're
non-conference schedule, granted,
Mhm.
but they were looking really shaky in the non-conference. I mean, they had that ugly game against UCLA. Like that one sticks out to me that they and. I mean, they were sitting what? What were they sitting early in the season? They were 4-6 at one point.
yeah, it was not
And
looking good.
they got
They
destroyed by
yeah,
Wisconsin too. They kind
yeah, it
of
was not
very
looking good
rough.
for them.
They were kind
But
of letting their
they've
season slip away.
yeah, they've turned it around in conference play, and
they got rolled
yeah,
at home by Duke too.
they've been a fun team to watch. The guard play is still something they're gonna have to keep a close eye on as they get deeper into the season here. It's still kind of Caleb Love kind of feels like a time bomb. They're overcoming it now. It's not anything that's killing them now because they're starting to find a pretty good balance offensively here. But and they're just so good rebounding the ball. Awaka is just a machine on the offensive glass, and yeah, it's a
And
fun
Jaden
team.
Bradley's good enough. If Caleb Love's having an off night, then he can take over the game
Yeah,
and
it's a
carry the late.
fun game. Yeah, it's a fun team to watch. I've kind of been conned into finding reasons to pick them to go deep in the NCAA tournament every year, and
Same.
almost every
I'm
year
with you on
I'm
that trap.
yeah. But yeah, it's all about the matchup that they get when they get there. It's going to be a matchup thing.
As long as it's not an Ivy League school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really. If it's not someone from the Ivy League or Big West or something there.
I think I think I had Arizona in the national championship when they got beat like that.
I think I've
So
had them in the
never,
national championship 2 years in a row.
So I'm not picking them to go deep ever again.
Yeah, so I think they're like Lenardi had them on 4 line going into yesterday, so they could like that. They should be able to hopefully get to second weekend. I being in that spot, but we'll see. It's hard to say. They have
And
been so disappointing.
they're tied for first in the Big 12 regular season right now, though. Them and
Yes,
Houston are both
they've
sitting at
been
11
awesome.
and 1.
Yeah,
Mhm.
And
so
then that would have been a big one for Texas Tech because that was they fell to 9 and 3. They
yeah,
obviously could have been one game out if they took that one, and Arizona was able to pick them off. And then I guess it's just those three pretty much that are going to be in the race for the Big 12. It seems like it's down. In fact, I'm going to see what the odds are looking like now at this point, but definitely an interesting race at the Big 12. And I'm sure going into Big 12 play, you probably could have gotten some pretty good odds on Arizona to win the Big 12 regular season, and now they're sitting in really good position for that.
yeah. I mean, it makes like it would. I think when the realignment was announced, I don't think anyone would have been surprised to hear that Arizona was doing so well in the Big 12. But yeah, it's just this team in particular not being one of their best teams on paper. having to overcome some really rough stretches by Caleb Love at the start of the season and getting to where they are now.
Anytime you go from a losing record in the non-conference to where they are now,
yeah,
like there's so. And so I was looking up those odds. So Houston is minus 170 right now. Arizona's plus 210. Texas plus 100. Iowa State's plus 1,700, and then everything after that is not worth mentioning. But
yeah,
so it seems like it's definitely down to a 3-horse race there to take home the Big 12 regular season crown. But I think going into conference play, you wouldn't have had a lot of people who thought Arizona would be in that position right now.
yeah, and they of course have Houston coming up. They play them on Saturday, so and they get them at home also. So that should be a game that hopefully they find a way to win there. But
You said Arizona, Houston next Saturday.
Yeah,
I will be tuned in.
yeah,
that'll
and it's
be good.
yeah. I mean, it's just kind of like I'm playing it over in my mind. I want Arizona to win that game, but then I just envision like Caleb Love with like a 3 for 21 shooting performance, and like Houston just clamps them horribly. So really, not that many outcomes in that game would really surprise me. And then of course after Houston, it's Baylor for Arizona at Baylor. So
Matt, I just had a pop up, by the way. So doing some math. Friday, Jason Lockenfora was 13-5 in his last 18. It's now 24 in his last 36. So he went 11-7 this weekend, and he has a pick in Fresno State, Nevada tomorrow that I will not be paying to see. In case you were wondering about, because I just had that pop up, so I figured I should give you the Jason Forrest picks update.
well, thank you. Yeah.
But yeah, huge win for Arizona. That'll be a big time game with Houston next Saturday. That could very well be the game that decides the Big 12 regular season crown and who's going to get the 1 seed in the tournament there. So a lot going to be on the line in that one. Hopefully ESPN doesn't shove that on ESPN 8 the Ocho or something.
Yeah.
And hopefully the fire alarms don't go off this time there.
Ideally not. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just no way I was making it to the end of that game. I didn't, because like I had the UFC fight on too, and I was knocked out. I didn't make it to the end. I was not happening. I woke up in a daze and saw Sean Strickland covered in blood and Arizona beat Texas Tech, and went back to sleep.
If it tells you how tired I was last night, I just passed out on the couch and stayed there the whole night.
Brother, I do that every night.
Yeah.
That's some of the best sleep, though.
Yeah, I do that every night. I got my setup down here. Most nights I'm on the couch. I do not feel like going upstairs. I end up.
You and Pearl.
Shut the fuck up. She's got her own bed that she chooses to use sometimes.
She wasn't using it today.
No. Yeah, she's a character. All right. Yeah, that should cover that one. Next big story of the day. I guess it's not one of the biggest games of the day, but story-wise was Michigan 70, Indiana 67. Yeah, I mean, obviously Indiana lost. Indiana loses to fucking everybody. So not much. I guess they covered. They made it close at the end. So, I mean, credit to them for that. But I don't know. We don't need to waste time talking about that game because obviously the story is the Dusty May stuff. And, just curious your guys' thoughts on the reception he received there and then his press conference after the game where he had some interesting
He did
comments.
not deny.
Yeah. He didn't
I
come
was
and
just
outright
about to say that, Matt.
He didn't come and outright say, like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying at Michigan. Like, he kept it out there, and they asked him point blank about it. And he was just like, there's nothing I can say to dismiss that at this point, and gave some word salad answer around that. But like you said,
He had coach speak.
Which I was listening to, like I said, Parrish and Norlander, their podcast, Eye on College Basketball earlier, and Parrish brought up the best point I heard about it, and I think it was smart what he said is that if you're Dusty May in that situation, don't come out and give your big, oh, Grant, I'm staying at Michigan, I'm not going
Yeah.
anywhere, this and that, because then you lose all your leverage to get more money from Michigan.
I'd say,
So
yeah, his agent is definitely in discussion, has talked to Indiana and Michigan. He's going to stay at Michigan, but, he's just kind of like doing the old, oh, I'm happy where I am, or if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Kinda,
that's a professional move by
yeah,
him there.
It's just
I
coach
would be
speak.
very
Yeah.
surprised, if he were to leave. But yeah,
he's
there's
not actually going to
I'm not
leave.
going to rule it
no
out.
story there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
'Cause,
would
like-
be surprised.
because I know Jeff Brom did this when he was at Purdue. Like, when he was like rumored to be taking the Louisville job the first time, or the Tennessee job, it was his agent talking around, and then he would come, was not going to actually leave.
So did any of those comments change your guys' feelings? Because I know the
Mm-mm.
other night we were all kind of consensus, all four of us, like, yeah, Dusty's not going to leave Michigan. There would be no reason for him to. Did anything at that game and then the press conference after and any of that change your opinion and like make you think there's more of a chance he takes the Indiana job possibly, or do you
I
still
think
see it as a long shot?
I think because he didn't shut it down and go, no, I'm good at Michigan. It's my first year. I'm happy here. I want to stay. I think because he had the opportunity, because he was asked directly like about the job, and he could have went, no, I'm good at Michigan, and shut it down, and that would have been it, right? That probably would have been your answer right there.
Maybe it was it, but we're Auburn fans. We remember the only way they're going to take me out of Ole Miss is in a pine box, and
Yeah.
then he was the Auburn coach a week later. So,
Sure, and 100%.
college coaches, when they say that kind of stuff, it means nothing.
Yeah.
I'm sure he
that's
doesn't
just
want to
like-
be clipped and be like, remember when you said this? And then
No,
like,
for sure. But like the thing is, like, he could have at least given Michigan a little more confidence going, but he didn't shut it down like directly. Like I thought beforehand when we did the pod on Friday that he would most likely stay at Michigan. But now I'm like, all right, maybe there's more of a realistic chance Indiana could sway him to come coach there than we thought. Like,
I think Michigan has a good idea internally that he's probably going to stick around.
I think he's at least listening to offers from Indiana. Like him and his agent in Indiana are at least talking. Like there's at least communication there.
He's in
Yeah, if
active
nothing else to
communication.
drive up the
Yeah,
new contract or the buyout. Or
He's just
something
not-
there.
he's just not trying to affect the negotiations at all.
That's
He's just
exactly
kinda-
what Bruce Pearl did with Louisville a couple years ago, where like he didn't come out and outright deny it at any point, and then a week later he's got a massive extension, and Alan Green dug up some money to make sure he didn't go anywhere. And that's probably the same thing Dusty's trying to do with Michigan here, basically, and obviously the Indiana thing for him in that situation is more of a like he has more ties there, so Michigan probably feels a little bit more threatened in that situation. Like, hey, like he's basically telling them like you better come right with the money, or I'm gonna see what's out here.
He's trying to get more of the Jordan brand money.
I don't think he has to worry. I think he's.
Yeah.
They're going to pay up to keep
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
They're not going to let him get to Indiana.
I don't think so either. And yeah, that's why I think yesterday he was just trying to drive up that price.
We'll see.
But yeah, like I said, not much. I don't know if any of you have any want to talk about that game. I don't see any reason to.
If Indiana was a well-coached team, they probably would have been in that game, though.
Yeah, they played a good
Yeah,
second half.
Yeah, they played good. They played good
were
in the
strong
game.
in the second half, and they were good down the stretch. But yeah, the damage was already done. They went into halftime already pretty badly beaten at
Mhm.
that point, and they played a good second half to get back into it. But yeah, ultimately, it's one of those, like, if they really like another horrible Ballo game. Also, like, it was just not worth the money.
He's been
And
hitting the club too much. Him and
yeah,
the other guy.
yeah, but yeah, if they had full
Uh,
team buy-in, and if they were, like, probably better coached and more motivated, yeah, they probably would have won. But yeah, just not in the cards yesterday.
Mhm.
So
Poor roster construction and poor coaching. That's what you get with Indiana.
yeah,
That's what their issue is.
Well, we'll stay on the Big Ten and the state of Michigan theme because we
Mhm.
had a good game in the Big Ten
Yeah,
yesterday, which, yeah, I was
a
none
wild
too
game.
happy about. I had
Me either.
Oregon plus 9.5, so that was a brutal one. Yeah, Michigan State 86, Oregon 74. Just an all-time second half meltdown by Oregon
Or yeah,
to not stay in that one. I mean, obviously they have a great resume and they've been slipping and they could have used another big one in Big Ten play to get that, and they seemed well on their way to doing that and had a 14-point lead at halftime and managed to lose by 12. So yeah, when I was on the plus 9.5 side, there's not a lot of positive things I had to say coming out of that one, but yeah, Michigan State played a great second half, and
Mhm.
Oregon just absolutely fell apart. I mean, Oregon only scored 24 points as a team in the second half. That was just what a first. It was the first game of the day, yeah, and it was just absolute meltdown city by Oregon. So,
Mhm. They
uh,
were Oregon was rolling Michigan State, and they just kind of fell apart in the second half. Uh, they let Jace Richardson do whatever he wanted against
yeah,
them
Richardson
in the
was
second half.
incredible. He had 29 points.
Jackson Shelstad was the only player on Oregon.
the only one, the only guy.
Yeah, only guy on Oregon.
Yeah, they didn't
Kwame
have to guard
Evans,
anyone else. Yeah,
double figure. That was the only other. Oregon had 2 players in double figures. Michigan State had 4.
Jacob, I'm sure they had to look out for Nate Biddle because he's a dirty
Yeah,
player, right?
yeah, probably.
Yeah, that
Do
yeah,
not
was
like
yeah.
him.
that's one Michigan State needed pretty badly. Especially after the games they dropped to USC and UCLA. Izzo probably ripped them a new one at halftime. Was probably giving them the business about getting their shit together for the second half, and they certainly responded.
Oh, that's why I thought that was a great spot for Oregon because Michigan State was coming back from the West Coast trip. So I thought it was prime city for Michigan State to kind of come back home and be lackluster after that road trip. And obviously they were in the first half. And yeah, like
Yeah,
second half, it was just that was brutal. And
man,
yeah,
yeah, they
the
torched them.
Oregon plus 9.5 was one I was none too happy about.
Yeah,
Go
and
Spartans. Go Spartans,
yeah,
Travis.
Michigan
I
State plays at Illinois on Saturday. That'll be a good one.
another.
They basically have a bye week game. They play Indiana this week before Illinois.
Yeah, W.
At the Breslin Center. Yeah, so yeah, that's a but yeah, Illinois Michigan State. That'll be a good game on Saturday.
Yeah, I don't know about Oregon, man. Like I said, they had a great non-conference. They still have the second most quad one wins, and I haven't seen the update today, so I don't know if that's changed. But as far as I know, they were still second in the country in quad one wins. But it is
Crazy. Yeah.
the season is definitely going off the rails for Oregon, and
They're
they're still probably going to get a pretty nice draw in March for what you would expect because of what they did in the non-conference and that resume. But they're a team. If I drew them in the first round, they would not strike fear into me.
I think they were
Yeah, Joe
projected.
already had them as projected 7th seed.
I'm surprised it's that far.
I think I saw 8
Yeah.
or 9 today when
I
I was
mean, they
watching
could drop to that. Yeah.
Maryland or was it Ohio State and Nebraska.
Yeah, I mean, they still probably have enough there on the resume to keep them elevated, but it's yeah, that was a tough one.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, there's that one. Matt, this will be yours, but Alabama 85, Arkansas 81. That's the next one I had on the docket to
Yeah,
talk about.
man. Pulling for the Hogs hard in that one.
Same.
Visich had a great game until the very, very end. Nate Oates fouled up 3, put him on the line with 5 seconds, and he just failed badly in that spot.
I just need to
Failed
give a
to run the
shout out
ball,
though. Like
so
other than that rebound at the end of the game, Avicic was
he was
impressive
awesome.
yesterday.
He played a great game. He was their best player by a comfortable margin. He and Aduthiero. Yeah, they were great. It's just kind of they defended the 3 pretty well for Bama. And yeah, they just could not get enough stops in that one to win. Especially first half, they did not finish the first half great. And then second half, I thought they were probably there were stretches where they were definitely the better team and outplayed them, but yeah, just couldn't get enough stops there at the end of that game. And yeah, that's just an example of Bama being a better team. Yeah, it's not. I don't believe that's like a good loss. I don't really think that's much of the case ever. But yeah, it's like
Arkansas needed that one
they
bad
did.
though. Like
They
that would have
did.
been
Yeah, they were
like
the last team in going into that, and
they're the
yeah,
first out.
that really
know.
could. Or yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, they were the first team out, and they really could have used that one. Good news for them is they still will have some opportunities to pad that resume, but that was one at home, coming off a great couple games there that they probably wish they could have had back.
And they were down 8. They were down 18 with like 5-6 minutes left, and like they came back and really made it a game there at the end.
They did, yeah.
Like,
I mean, they ended up scoring almost 50 in the second half. Yeah, they played fairly decent game. But yeah, just DJ Wagner and Janelle Davis were just nowhere to be found that day. I think they combined for like barely 20 points, if that.
Janelle Davis had like 3 chances to tie the game and missed like 3 3-pointers in a row.
Yeah.
One of those last possessions, I was like, you suck, dude. And like there was one of those possessions, like he missed a 3-pointer. I think it would have. I think they were down 2, and it would have given them the lead. I'm trying to remember like the end of the game sequence, and Avicic got the offensive board and put it back to tie it. And then they had a chance there at the end because so Bama went down. They were up 2 or 3. I put the sequence in my notes. This is gonna sound like I'm just picking on Aiden Holloway because he's the former Auburn guy, but I swear like that's not what I'm doing here. But they were up 3. There was like 33 seconds left. And they got the ball, and about 11 seconds left. Aiden Holloway takes like a Steph Curry range 3-pointer that hits off the fucking shot clock and gives Arkansas the ball back. It was like a terrible shot. Also, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
Like, and I swear I'm not just saying that because it's Aiden Holloway. It was just like objectively like terrible decision making. I don't know what he was looking for there, but that almost gave Arkansas a chance to tie it up again.
But yeah, that one stings for Arkansas. They played Sears really well. They defended him well. They just couldn't close the deal. Tough one.
Yeah, I mean they defended well from 3 in general. Like
they did.
Alabama only
made really well.
Alabama only made 5 3-pointers in that game.
Well, they only got them to attempt, I think, 19 on the entire game. So
yeah,
they were all in for running them off the line.
Yeah, which is like the same way we saw Ole Miss beat them earlier this year.
Yeah.
But like Arkansas just wasn't able to grind them down as much as Ole Miss was in that one. And yeah, they were still able to capitalize and hold on. They, like I said, Bama definitely did their best to give that thing away down the stretch.
They tried, yeah.
But yeah, that would have been a huge win for Arkansas. But like you said, they should still have opportunities. But I guess the question for Bama coming out of that one, obviously we had the number one discussion earlier, but like, is that win against Arkansas and the fashion it happened, like, was that enough to get them to number one in the AP poll? Kind of tying
Probably
on.
not, but it's not as much as like that as it is that the teams ahead of them lost, and the status quo of the poll is as such that they would go to number one in that scenario. But no, that was not a, it was a, it's an impressive win that they,
Road
win in
win.
a tough environment on the road in conference against a hot team. But yeah, it's not one of those games where you're looking back watching like, wow, this is the best team in the country I'm watching on, full display, just pick this team apart. So no, on that point alone, no. But for the, just recent history of how the poll works, yes, they probably will go to number one. I would expect them to. If they didn't, I would not be upset. But if they did, that's, just how it works.
All right. Hey, anybody else on that one?
Nope. Y'all are good.
No. All right. Next one. And not as much the game. Kansas attempted to walk into the octagon of doom. It did not go well. Kansas State dominated Kansas. That was very impressive. Kansas State's on a roll.
Yeah.
It's probably too little too late for them to make a tournament run, but they're doing their best. They're picking up some big wins here. I don't know where they're at, like if they're anywhere on the bracket radar at this point, but they have to at least be creeping their way into the consideration mix because Kansas State is on a roll. And
I hope they make it. Jerome Tang teams are just so fun to watch. I hope they make the tournament.
Kansas State's kind of got like the Arkansas of the Big 12 vibes here. They're just putting together some big wins after just a horrible start. So that win, I think, got them to 500 in Big 12 play. But ultimately, this team's not going to be a tournament team without a few more pretty big wins of their own. And they're probably going to need to at least make the Big 12 semifinals when it gets to conference tournament time.
I'm glad you like what I was going to say about K-State, and I'm glad you mentioned them. They're the first team I'm definitively like out of one of the power conferences. I'm putting them on bid stealer watch because like I don't know if they're going to have good enough resumes to get an at large. They would have to do a ton, but I think they are certainly on bid stealer watch where they're a team like because they're probably going to get a pretty good draw in the Big 12 tournament with their record there right now. And if they keep turning off wins, not a good draw, but they at least won't have to go the whole way and play like the first night or anything. Like I think they're a team that you could really see surprise some people and be a bid steal because we're always going to get one or two of them. And I think Kansas State is one of the teams I have an eye on to be that.
That'd be significant. Drake beat them earlier in the season, so that would probably be good enough to push Drake into the field as well, perhaps as an at-large if they were not to win the conference tournament. But yeah, Kansas State has Arizona next, so that's another opportunity for them at home to get a pretty big win because you would think that Arizona is probably going to be in the top 15 in the next poll.
And one of the other things I wanted to mention from that one, did you guys see Coleman Hawkins' press conference after the game?
I did not.
Trolling Hunter Dickinson. Yeah.
He's always got something going on in the press conferences.
Wait, he was doing the I'm 1-2. He's like, yeah, I'm 6-1 or something against Hunter Dickinson or something like that.
4-1.
4-1.
Yeah, he did that. Yeah, he was like, what's my record now? Like he's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 4-1. Like
I love
it was awesome. It was awesome.
I love when players like actually treat the rivalry like a rivalry and they like talk smack after the game. I love
especially because that's a rivalry that started in the Big 10 and has transitioned over to the Big 12.
I love it.
And
I love it.
So that was pretty entertaining. I enjoyed that. I definitely wanted to mention that. Yeah.
I wonder if he's gonna tweet any Joker gifs after the game.
I don't know. We'll have to check. He might have already.
Yeah, he might have already. He
Um,
got.
I'm on it.
But you don't just walk into the Octagon of Doom, and Kansas found that out yesterday. It's crazy, dude, man. Kansas cannot win there. I mean, that's what 3-4 straight years Kansas has lost there at this point.
Yeah, they have not. That's always just kind of a game that they are never over. And Kansas State has usually shot pretty well against them in those games. But yeah, that's an underrated atmosphere. But it is weird. Like everyone, like Kansas is the only team that like really, really struggles there. So
Hey, and I
Coleman
mean,
Hawkins.
like you
Shut-
get it because I mean that's their like you said, like that's with Clemson earlier. Like that's their Super Bowl every year.
it is,
Like
yeah.
they
It's the
want to win
biggest
that game bad. That's a huge rivalry. Obviously, remember the brawl a few years ago with the chairs and everything. Like that's an awesome rivalry. The Sunflower Showdown and Kansas State, they take a lot of pride in that one. So that's an awesome rivalry, and Kansas State's always going to get up for that game. So certainly
Coleman
not a
Hawkins,
surprising result.
He's slowly moving up my favorite players because of this retweet. Big
Hold
Bears
it closer.
guy.
I can't. Hold it closer. Oh yeah.
He's moving up my list. I appreciate that.
Hey,
Coleman
also,
Hawkins can, his lasting memory for me will be him just like quitting on Illinois while UConn goes on a 30-0 run.
Purdue fans let Coleman Hawkins hear it last year.
Yeah,
After we
so.
swept him, he was like trash talking Purdue on Twitter nonstop, and then we swept him at Illinois while he shot like 1 for 11 or something crazy like that. And then shout out David Gasson on Kansas State. Big performance by him. His
He had
brother,
a huge game.
his brother started for ETSU on the 2020 team.
Very nice. And I'm gonna let you get to that one at some point.
Yeah.
In fact, go ahead and take it now since you already brought it up.
Sure.
ETSU got a big win over Buckyball, so you deserve your moment in the sun to celebrate that one.
I was at that game yesterday. That was just like a crazy game. Like Freedom Hall was packed out for the third game in a row. It's been a rough couple years as an ETSU fan. You just had some bad basketball under Desmond Oliver, and we finally have gotten back to the point where it was under Steve Forbes. It was a hard fought win yesterday over Sanford.
It was a close one.
I know. I got in the first half. I was really worried because Jaden Seymour had a knee injury. I thought it was bad. I was afraid it was going to be bad. He went back to the locker room. Thankfully, he came back out in the second half. John Buggs wasn't playing that great, but Kumari Peterson, man, him and Mekhi Johnson took over the game the last 5 minutes. Just a lot of good defense. We held Sanford to their lowest lowest scoring output on the season. Both times we played, they're one of the highest scoring offenses in the nation. So that was a massive win to get us within one game of the SoCon lead of the regular season title. So just a massive win all around. Big day to be a Buck fan.
Oh yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, thank
you. I had it on the quad box. It was one of the better mid-major games of the day yesterday.
Freedom Hall was rocking, man. I love to see it. Everyone was hyped up.
Dude, we were talking about mid-major stuff. I was laughing so hard. Where like I it was just I just stumbled by it. That I was yesterday years old when I figured out that the NEC has their own app for all their games.
NEC front row. Yeah.
I was like, what is? I downloaded it. I was like, hell yeah! Like, never know what. I don't know if there will ever be a situation where I really want to watch an NEC game, but I have the app on my phone now. If I ever want to tune into some NEC action, gonna. The main one I'm still trying to figure out is the Mountain West Network. Like where is that? Like how do you access that? That's just like a hidden gem to me. Like I see a game on the Mountain West Network. I'm like, okay, I have no idea. Like there's no bootleg streams out there for it that I can ever find. So I got nothing for the Mountain West Network. If you have any tips, like please let me know. Matt, have you found the Mountain West Network?
Mountain West Network is, I think, I'm trying to think of like what the parent. I'm trying to think here. I mean, because usually Mountain West is always on like CBS Sports Network and that kind of thing. But no, I know the Colonial is using Flow Sports for theirs, which is like a rip-off wrestling streaming service.
They got
they
a lot of
somehow-
racing.
Big in the dirt
racing
racing
too.
community too.
Yeah. So shout out to Flow. But yeah, no,
I got a
can't
buddy
really figure out the
I got a
Mountain West
buddy who
Network
works
you.
for Flow actually
Oh, really?
on the racing side. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he works for Flow. He mainly does racing, but
So I do have to ask on the SoCon basketball topic here. Where does Buckyball stand now nationwide? Because they shot horribly yesterday, I'm pretty sure. I do not think they shot well, and Buckyball is that was pretty hot after last year. They almost beat Kansas. Probably should have beat Kansas. Now it's I don't know where they stand. They're probably, if they do get in, I don't know where they would be seated. But
probably
they're
a
on
13
like that.
seed.
Yeah, I mean they got to be like 13 or 14, you'd think.
And I thought coming out of last year too, Bucky was kind of like putting himself in position to
I thought so as
get
well,
like a low tier SEC job, and I don't know if he's still in the running for that.
His offense is very gimmicky. Like you don't have the near the caliber of big man play. Achor went to Kansas State and got kicked off the team. So,
but you can do it you can run that all like it's the same fucking thing Nate Oates does, and he's made it work in the SEC.
Yeah.
So
I know. Yesterday, Sanford came out on fire. Rylan Jones and Brownell, but we kind of tightened up defense. ETSU tightened up defensively a lot in the second half. Just shutting down the lanes, the passing lanes that usually the Buckyball thrives on.
All right. Yeah, we'll put a pin in that one so I can finish rolling through the games here. I know we're winding down here, but a few more games I want to bring up. Creighton got a home win against Marquette, big one for the Big East. Cam Jones actually played an awesome game, but there wasn't a lot of other awesome going on for Marquette, and that's ultimately what Cam Jones and Joplin both played great, but yeah, they didn't have a lot of other productivity, but obviously that's a tough place to play. A big home win for Creighton. Anything on that one?
Creighton's they're a sleeper team. I think they could honestly do something in March. They're a veteran team. And I think Greg McDermott's one of the most underrated coaches in the country. They're that sleeper team in the Big East, I'd say, at this point. They've had some bad losses, but they've also had some great wins, and they continue to build their resume. So they're a team I would not want to see in March, if I had to put it that way.
They've always kind of had that build, because they have the size up front. Kalkbrenner's just a veteran at this point. Same with Ashworth, not in terms of size there with him, but because they have a guy that size who's going to be tough to defend night in, night out. They will be in a lot of those games. They're going to be tough to match up with for a lot of teams. But yeah, more or less Marquette. Not a great look for them here. I mean, they have now dropped games to UConn, Creighton, and St. John's now in conference, all pretty recently, within the last week now, really. So not a great sign for them. I know, they have some big wins non-conference, so that's going to really carry them seeding-wise, but it does kind of now these days seem as simple as shut down Cam Jones, you cut off the head of the snake, and you're in business.
That's
And
not what.
then,
See, that's what made
the
yesterday
opposite
interesting,
happened.
though.
And then
Cam
now
Jones had one of his
he
best
had a
games of the year
huge game.
yesterday.
He had a huge game, and he also had, someone else put up 20, and Dave Joplin, and they still couldn't get a win there. So they've dropped 3 straight now, all 3 to the best teams in their league. But yeah, I mean, it should be relatively smooth sailing the rest of the season until they have to go to UConn, and then they have St. John's to end the season, I think. But yeah, that's always a fun conference tournament every year. But yeah, it does not seem like great times here for Marquette of late. Just going to have to get a little more creative offensively. And, defensively for them, this is now, I think, 5 straight games now where they've allowed 70 or more points. I don't know if Nova got him for 70, but yeah, defensively, they have not been kind of Shaka tough defensive teams that we're accustomed to seeing here that he's had at Marquette. So yeah, it's not, dire straits here for Marquette, but it is kind of a little bit concerning. They just not getting much from anyone besides the guards, which at some point they're going to need a little more from their wing play and in the front court. But yeah, it's they just have no one. I don't think Kalkbrenner missed a shot the whole game. It felt like they just have no one to guard him. So he's just always going to be those big guys. Always going to be a handful for Marquette because they're usually a smaller team. They want to play small. They want to play faster. So yeah, that's just it's going to be an issue for them going forward.
All right. Last few games to talk about here. Some of them, I mean, we don't need to dive into unless somebody. But Houston, they played a little bit of a grinder at Colorado yesterday. Colorado kept it interesting, but they ended up winning by 10 pretty comfortably. But it was at least worth a watch. Colorado's in the mix there. I don't know if anybody was tuning in to Mississippi State, Georgia. They played a very fun back and forth game. That was a good one to watch. Mississippi State went to Athens, which they've only lost the one game to Auburn there this year, and they barely lost that one. That's been a tough place to play, and they protected their home floor well. But Mississippi State was able to go on the road and get one there. That was a great game.
Mm-hmm.
So good one to watch there. And then last one I really want to bring up and talk about is was Ole Miss LSU, and that's more
shocking.
I was like,
yeah,
wow, LSU just folded. I mean, Ole Miss ended the game on a 13-0 run to win it. And then Jacob, if you want to pull up again the tip in to win that one. So Ole Miss, so it's tied at 70, and Ole Miss shoots, misses, and they get a tip in that gave them the lead. But they called it off on the floor originally, and they called it a basket interference. And they looked at the replay, and I mean, that's why I wanted Jacob to pull it up to show how close this thing was. This thing barely, I mean, was as close as you can get to not being on the rim, but barely made it off the rim, and Ole Miss was able to get the tip in and win that one. But just absolute meltdown by LSU.
Yeah.
There.
LSU did a decent job guarding Padula, and yeah, Dre Davis carried him home. Great game by him.
Yeah, but this is to cap a 13-0 run for reference.
Padula has it. 4 seconds. Padula on the drive. Padula tap back.
And that didn't show the whole. So they called this off on the floor at first. You see, yeah. So this doesn't have the full replay and all that, obviously. but like this thing was barely off the rim, and the refs did a good job there. Not or calling it basket interference because then you can review it. So like they handled that situation right, where they made the call on the floor and then went and reviewed it to make sure they made the right call. Because then if you don't make the call, you you can't review it for it after the fact in that situation. So they want to make sure they didn't just hand Ole Miss a game that they didn't actually earn. So they did a good job reviewing that one. It's also very funny. They put a tenth of a second back on the clock at the end, which like is so like LSU just basically had to heave it on like from the inbound because like that's not enough time for like a shot or tip in or anything. So it was just like full on heave. And I mean, this thing was like, you've seen the Derek Fisher meme where he just like throws the ball in the row 20.
Yeah.
Like that was basically the end of this LSU Ole Miss game. Was LSU just like Joe Burrow out there like throwing a freaking 60-yard bomb into the stands to end it. So, all right, no, that's not what happened there. I was thinking of another situation, another game I was watching where that happened because this one, Ole Miss just batted down. So I rescind that, but there was a game I was watching yesterday, which is why I was thinking that, where somebody tried like a full court shot basically from the inbound, and it was like into fucking row 30. Like it might have made it. I wish I could remember for the life of me what game I was watching where that happened, but that's why I was thinking about that. But yeah, good win for Ole Miss there, man. That's a tough one for LSU.
LSU 1-9 in SEC play now. Rough.
Yeah,
Can't wait for
only one
football
up
season
by
for them, or baseball really, but yeah.
only one up by South Carolina 0-10, which is just brutal. You feel for the Gamecocks and
you do.
like
They've had some games that just, and Kentucky really took it to them.
Yeah, they got destroyed.
Yeah.
It's just the season from hell. You feel like South Carolina's in like the Dennis Gates, Missouri situation from last year again, where like he had a great first year in South Carolina and made the tournament there last year, and they were a really good team. And then comes back year two, and it just all falls apart. But yeah, just the year from hell for them. So they're sitting at 0-10 now. Like I said, it feels like the Dennis Gates situation, just run back basically. I mean, I think this South Carolina team is better than that Missouri team was, but still a lot of similarities there. But yeah, I mean, I hit. Anybody else got any other games they want to bring up? I know Jacob, you brought up the UC San Diego, UC Irvine.
I was going to talk about that because that was that was probably the other biggest mid-major game of the day besides ETSU Sanford.
That's a big rivalry.
Like let me find Big West. Pulling up the score.
Yeah, Irvine had, I think, the longest home win streak in the country.
Yeah, after Sanford lost a couple weeks ago, and UC San Diego, UC Irvine, they're the top of the Big West. They're both in ratings. They're both top 50 teams.
Yeah, Irvine's legit. Yeah,
like these are both teams. Whatever team misses the tournament, it's gonna be a travesty because they're both great teams. But UC San Diego took it to UC Irvine. Just two legit teams on the West Coast. UC Irvine just kind of didn't play up to what they had before. I don't know if they had played another time. They played earlier in the year.
And that's important because I do. Irvine, I think, still had at least like outside shot at getting an at-large if a lot of things fell their way.
Very outside, yeah.
Yeah, but they were at least still alive for that, but they needed to run the table to have any chance at that, and that took them out of any chance to get an at-large.
They split after that loss. They've split their games because they won the first game against UC San Diego.
Also, mid-major wise, I wanted to bring up real quick. Shout out to Maction. They won the MAC Sun Belt Challenge, 8-4. So that was very interesting to watch and keep up with. So shout out to them for that.
We also have got to talk about arguably the game of the day, Army and Bucknell.
Oh
in
yeah,
the Patriot League.
Yeah.
that
That
was a wild one.
power. Yeah. Ryan Curry from Army, no relation to the Currys that I know of. Pretty sure he dropped 30 on Bucknell, and that was like 116 to 110. The Patriot League, which is notoriously horrible. Yeah, they always come through with some their conference play is like among the most unpredictable in the country, for better or worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure Army was like 21 to 25 from three. Like unbelievable shooting game for Army.
Funniest tweet I saw about that game is somebody posted like the screen grab of like Bucknell with like 120 or whatever, and was like, "This is what we're spending all the money on this defense budget
yeah.
for."
80 million to the defense budget.
Yeah.
Oh, it's more than that. It's like $850 billion or something.
Hey, shout out Army. I really hope they win the Patriot League because they've never made the tournament before.
Yeah.
That'd be they're like one of like 3 or 4 original members that have never made it. Them and William and Mary are still in the conversation for to make the tournament if they win their conference tourney.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
I mentioned the MAC Sun Belt Challenge too. I just wanted to highlight there real quick. Best game in that league or in that challenge was Kent State and Arkansas State. Probably the best two teams in those two leagues, and they played a really fun one. And Kent State was able to get the win there on the road. So that's a fun challenge. I'm glad they play that.
That is fun. They should do that in football also. There's a bit of a like SEC Big Ten element with MAC and Sun Belt. Yeah, that usually Sun Belt gets the better of them when they do in bowl season. But yeah, MAC usually has the upper hand when it comes to basketball time.
Also, shout out Akron. They if they make the tournament, they might be a sleeper underdog. Upset.
You son of a bitch. I was going to hit everybody with the trivia here. You ruined it.
What was it?
You know who the longest win streak in the country is now? After Duke and Auburn lost yesterday? The Akron. Damn it, Jacob. I had a fucking great trivia teed up and ready to go. Fuck. You took the words right from me. But yeah, Akron, 11-game win streak, longest win streak in the country now.
Shout out John Grosh, former Illinois
coach. Yeah.
Took Ohio before to the Sweet 16.
Yeah. DJ Cooper. That was a good team.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that should about do it. Anybody got anything else, or are we calling it?
There's a couple more games I wanted to mention. Wake Forest had a big win for their bubble chances against California. They got the 2 wins on the West Coast. I think they're the first ACC team to sweep their West Coast visit, with Cal and Stanford being out there.
Thank you for
bringing in the ACC.
Thank you for bringing that up because I kind of wiped the ACC from my brain.
Yeah.
But I did have the displeasure of watching that awful UNC Pitt game yesterday, which UNC was able to win. Sadly, I guess I don't know. That's 2 bubble teams. The bubble's bad this year, because those are 2 teams that are hanging around. Hey, for anybody that thinks we should expand the tournament, this year's a reason. An example of why we shouldn't expand the tournaments because there are some fucking terrible teams.
Yeah, 100%.
I'd be down to expand the tournament if you got teams that good mid majors that got screwed over. Give them a shot in the tournament. But if it's just shitty 6 or 7 win Power 5 teams, it's in conference, it's what's the point?
Yeah, what are we doing at that rate?
Yeah.
We don't need
UNC is fucking terrible. Matt, you texted about that. They did not deserve to win that game, and Pitt in their own right. It was just It was just a battle between Capel and Hubert Davis of like who can fucking
Yeah,
find a
two
way to give this
very
thing away more.
unimpressive coaches. Just, yeah, it's frustrating to watch there. But I would also be
gross.
remiss if we did not do our Baylor minute here. Yes, a huge win over UCF at home. Played
Huge.
a very consistent start to finish game against
10.5 point favorite.
Yes, they had their full complement of players, as far as I know. Very balanced
All 7
scoring.
of them.
They had a great game from BJ Edgecombe again. They had their classic Norchad O'Meara double. And they got Langston Love. I'm pretty sure he got like 16 points in that game.
Huge.
Yeah,
Huge.
Langston Love, Jaden Nunn. Yeah, just electric stuff there from the Bears. And of course, we have a big week for the Bears here. I'm pretty sure. I think they got Houston. I think on Monday night. I think they have to go to Houston.
That's gonna go well.
Yeah, that could either go really well or really poorly. So hopefully, I just hope Baylor is fully staffed for that game. Hope everyone's healthy. That should be that should be a good one there.
How much did you get paid to do that?
The Baylor Minute?
Yeah.
The Baylor Minute sponsored by Juve? Yeah. I don't really know. Yeah, that could be. Gotta get a sponsor. Right now, Juve's our only sponsor, so I gotta get a better sponsor there. But if they beat Houston, and then I think they have West Virginia next, and then Arizona after that. So they got a tough stretch coming up. Juve has always been a champion for Big 12 hoops, particularly West Virginia. Being a tough place to play, being a good team there. So, yeah, big stretch here for the Bears. So thus concludes.
And they got a huge home win against Utah yesterday.
Who's that?
West Virginia.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, I mean, should be a tough one there for the Bears here. But, yeah, at Houston in the 9 o'clock slot, I'm pretty sure, on ESPN. So, barring, like, any NBA game taking that spot. So we'll see. But, yeah, that should be a good one. And a lot of interest in that Baylor-Houston game tomorrow, I'll tell you.
Huge win against UCF.
I do have a couple.
Yeah.
Huge.
I do have a couple more notes. Last night, Northwestern, they're playing Minnesota and or not Minnesota, but Washington. Chris Collins got ejected.
Of course he did. Yeah.
He got ejected. Cost them a win. They have another player out for the season, so their season's going absolutely brutal right now.
What do you get ejected for?
I think he went at the ref. And they still had a chance to win, and he cost them the game pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, he had the NCAA tournament game against Gonzaga where he got a technical, and that game was actually pretty close, and he got a technical, and then that essentially iced it for Gonzaga. But yeah, he's a crazy person.
Yeah, he's just a crazy. I know he did it against Purdue last year. He with 1 second left, just charged at the ref for no reason.
Draymond Green.
Yeah.
I'm glad that was the story because when you first started talking, I was like, he better not just be bringing up Northwestern Washington to read off the result here because I'm like, if we're talking about that, it's time to fucking call.
No.
I'm glad there was something I'm glad that wasn't just a game of note because I was like, if we're talking about.
No.
Yeah, do we need to bring up South Carolina State beating Mid-Atlantic Christian? Yeah.
And then I gotta mention. Today in Rutgers versus Maryland, Jordan Geronimo got freaking destroyed.
Yeah, his teeth are
Durkak on Rutgers.
Durkak?
Yeah, however it's pronounced. He sounds like he's a Durkak. He scored. He's every time you play dang Rutgers or Northwestern, it just turns into a all-out wrestling match. It seems like.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think
That's
that's a
all I
show,
got.
boys.
That's all I got.
Great
I think
show.
we got ourselves a show.
Get it?
All right, thank you for tuning in. We'll be back Friday. Yeah, we'll be back Friday. I'm planning to be back Friday. Let me not speak for anybody else, but I'm planning on being here Friday, and then next week, with Monday being President's Day, I was going to request to maybe do Monday night because I'm off work and I'll be at the race Sunday. So next week, shooting for the next two shows to be Monday and Friday, if that works for everybody. But if you guys can't do Monday and you guys want to do Sunday, I will not be able to appear. But if that's what needs to happen, you guys will hold it down. But Friday, if you guys will be here, that should be our next show. And make sure you like, subscribe, retweet, share, all
Shout
that
out.
shit. All right,
Y'all
everybody have a good night.
You too.
Go Birds. Ew.